The Korg Triton Rack came with a floppy drive and floppy disks that look like this. The floppy disks contain the factory settings, as well as floppy disks that came with the expansion cards, and they contain all the patches and other information that the Triton Rack needs to make sense of the sounds that are inside of it. The problem when you buy a Triton Rack today, because they're not made anymore, they're only on a second-hand market, it often comes without the floppy disks, as well as if you buy expansions there's no floppy disks coming with them either, unless you're lucky. If you have an old Triton and you still have floppy disks, they might have gone bad in the meanwhile, and modern computers generally no longer have floppy drives. And since computers don't have floppy drives anymore, my solution for this is an external floppy drive, like this one, with a USB connector which can connect to any computer, and some empty floppy disks. I found some new old stocks from the late 80s, early 90s, which was the pinnacle of floppy disk quality. They will often outperform newer floppy disks, provided they weren't stored in a damp garage. So I got a whole pack of them, brand new old stock, so they're really old and they work just fine. They're old but new, they've never been used. And you can put these into your external floppy drive, connected to your computer of course. Well, perhaps online you will come across a rumor stating that while the floppy drive works, you cannot format the floppy disks on your modern computer in a format that the Triton Rack can read. And perhaps this is true, but it doesn't matter, because we're not going to format our disks in the floppy drive. We are going to format the disk in the Triton Rack itself, which is the best way to do it either way. And a Triton Rack knows exactly which format it wants or needs. I am now going to show you how to format the floppy in your Triton Rack. Insert the disk and then press disk over here. Now you press F3 for utility, then you press F8. You use these left, right, up, down arrows to navigate. You navigate to format and you press OK. It says here by default quick format. You can do a quick or a full format. I recommend the full format because this will map out any bad sectors and it reduces the chance of errors on your floppy disk later on. So you turn the wheel, go to full format. You can press name here. If you want to change the name, by default it's new volume, that's fine, you can use that, or you can give it any name you want by using the wheel, the keys and the navigation buttons here to choose your own name. I will leave the name as is and I will go for a full format and press F8 for OK. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure, and OK again. Formatting is complete. You can get the floppy out. Now this floppy disk has been formatted by the Korg Triton for the Korg Triton, so nothing can go wrong here. You now place that floppy disk into your external floppy drive and you plug that floppy drive into your computer. Now on your computer you go to the official Korg website. You download the factory preload data or whatever data you need, like the expansion card data. Once downloaded, I recommend you download all of it because you never know when Korg is going to permanently take this away from you. You're going to download it and save it on your hard disk forever. Now I've downloaded all of those in the past. They're in these folders here. To make some sense of these preload data folders, we have the T-Rack PL, which is the preload data for the factory settings. It came with 2 disks, so there's 2 folders with the corresponding content of these 2 disks. And here the EXB PCM expansion cards is for the expansion card preload data. This folder has card number 1 and 2 combined. This for card number 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 is bundled because that's the orchestral card, and card number 8 here. So if you open one of these up, there's one called Karma, that's for a different unit. For the Triton Rack you'll be using that folder and you'll navigate in there. I'm not a Mac user, that's for Mac users. There I go as a PC user, and I open that folder, and inside here is the actual data that will go onto the disk. You can ignore the icon thing right here, that's not necessary. It's just these 4 that would be the preload data. What you then do is you open another tab and you press on your PC and you open the floppy drive, which has the floppy inside of it that we just formatted, and you can now add any of this preload data that you need onto that floppy disk. But you can only ever do 1 at a time because that's all the space a floppy disk has. So if I want to do card number, expansion card number 3, for instance, I open this up and then I drag and drop all of this over here into the root folder. You don't create any folder or structure, you just put it into the blank disk like that, otherwise the Korg Triton is gonna get confused. And that's it. That's how you prepare a floppy disk. You can now take the floppy disk and put it in a Korg Triton and work as normal. Now to demonstrate that this is now a functional disk, we place it in here, press disk, and the content of the disk now shows up on the screen here.